Alright, welcome to AutoCAD 2011. Right away you'll notice the interface is quite a bit different, especially if you've been using AutoCAD 2006 or AutoCAD 2008. One thing AutoCAD has now is the ribbon tools at the top of the drawing screen. And probably what we're going to do in AutoCAD 2011 is draw some stuff in 3D. So we want to have a workspace that is configured for 3D drawing. So if you look at the bottom right corner of your interface, there's a little gear icon for workspace switching. If we click on that, it should give us a selection of different workspaces, and we're going to choose the 3D modeling workspace. You'll notice your ribbon changes, so you have different tools in the ribbon than you did if you were seeing the 2D drafting and annotation workspace. Now let's choose a template, and we're going to use the 3D templates folder, and we're going to choose the 2011 3D-1. Now with this template we won't see any viewports, but with AutoCAD 2011 you can do a lot of 3D development without actually needing to switch between the different viewports. One other adjustment we'll make before we start drawing is to display the tools at the bottom of the screen by their name, by their label, instead of by these little icons. I haven't quite gotten used to what these icons represent, so I like turning the Use Icons option off so we can actually see their labels again. Okay, before we start drawing, one other issue, let's experiment with the ribbon a little bit. Let's explore the ribbon. Notice above the ribbon there's different tabs you can choose on that show you different commands in the ribbon. But we're going to stick on the Home tab for right now, and from there we can choose the box command. I'm going to just click on the box somewhere and start dragging out a rectangle. And right now, since my dynamic input is turned on, I could actually type in some coordinates. And I'm going to first input my X coordinate, but if I wanted to put in my Y coordinate first, I could just hit the Tab key, and you'll notice how it switches from the X and the Y coordinate to allow me to make those changes. But my X coordinate in this case needs to be 5 inches. And then I'm going to tab again and input my X coordinate, which should be 3 inches. And then I can just drag this box up. And the height of our box should be 2 1/4. I can drag it up to where it should be, or I could type in the Z coordinate at this point. I'm just going to drag it up. Actually, I don't want to drag it the whole 2 1/4 yet. Let's just drag it up 1 inch. Next we want to draw a box on top of this base box. But before I do that, I'm going to double check my object snap settings. I'm going to hover over the O snap label at the bottom of the screen and choose settings and make sure my object snap is on, and I'm going to use the endpoint and midpoint snaps. And then I'm going to click a point. Well, I'm going to first choose my box command, of course. Then I'm going to pick the upper left corner of the base box, and my X values, the value for my X coordinate should be 2 1/2, and I'm going to tab so I can input the Y coordinate, and it should be 1 inch, and then my Z coordinate should be 1 1/4 inches. So there we have that next box on this part of the drawing. Alright, I'm going to choose the box command again, and I'm going to click on the front right corner of the last box I drew, and then I'm just going to come over to the top right corner of the base box, and then I can input my Z coordinate, which in this case should be 3/4 inch. Now that I have my 3 boxes constructed, I can union these, and if I look in the solid editing section of the home ribbon and hover, there should be a solid union command. So I'll click and choose that command, and I'll just actually put a window around all three of my boxes and then hit enter, and they should now be union. One thing we haven't experimented with yet is the little 3D view cube in the upper right corner of the AutoCAD drawing screen. But you notice you have a little cube that has different labels on it. If we just click on these different labels, you see we'll switch to a top view, or if we click on the there's some arrows in the upper right corner of the view cube that allow you to rotate that view around. Or you can just click on a corner of the view cube and it will give you a nice 3D view of the different viewpoints of the object. And there's a little house that represents the home view. You can click on it and it will take you to what's defined as the home view. But notice when we started drawing, our 3D view was actually turned in this direction. But say we wanted to make this the home view. What we could do here is just right click on the house icon and say set current view as home. Also, this is giving us a perspective type view where the 3D view seems to kind of converge and vanish toward a vanishing point, if you're familiar with perspective terminology. But let's right click on the house icon again and choose the parallel option. That'll give us a 3D view that I think we're more familiar with. And again, we'll make sure that's our current view set as home. Alright, now we're ready to draw some cylinders that we'll later subtract to create holes. And to access the cylinder command, we'll just click on the little down arrow below the box command, and that should show us the cylinder command. And actually what I'm going to do is draw this cylinder. I'm going to start it in the top view, and I'm going to go and choose, not actually choose, but hover over the midpoint, and what I want to see here is some tracking as I move my cursor, my crosshair from this midpoint. So I'm going to turn on the O-track option, and now after I hover over the midpoint it should give me some dimensions, and my dimension from that midpoint should be a ½ inch down, so I can use that as the center point for my cylinder. And now while I'm in the middle of drawing the cylinder, I'm going to switch back to my home view so I can see this in 3D. I want the diameter of this cylinder to be a ½ inch, so I'll hit D for diameter and then input a ½ inch. And I want this cylinder to create a hole, so I want it to go all the way through and then some. So I'm just going to drag down until I can see it extruding from the bottom of this object. I'm going to repeat this for the other cylinder. Okay, we'll repeat the cylinder command for the other little hole on the top level, this little top step. But again, I'm going to switch back to my top view. I'm going to hover over the midpoint of this section on the back and then come over a ½ inch. Switch back to my home view, put in my diameter of 1/2, and then stretch this cylinder down till I'm sure it protrudes from the bottom of the object. And I'll do this one more time for the bigger cylinder that's on the other edge, and it should be 1 inch from the back edge of where those two surfaces intersect. And again, switch back to my home view. The diameter of this cylinder is 1 inch, and then drag it till it goes all the way through. Finally, once we have all the cylinders drawn, we can now subtract them to create the holes. So let's hover and find the subtract command in the solids editing section of the ribbon. Solid subtract, and we'll choose the boxes that we union together earlier, then hit enter, and then come in and pick the cylinders. Once we have all the cylinders highlighted, we'll hit enter, and there we have some holes. So hopefully you are successful in creating these boxes and cylinders and making the subtractions so you have an object that looks like this by now. Okay, a couple other little miscellaneous tips about AutoCAD 2011. You can actually edit these solids more so than you could with AutoCAD 2006. Let's see how to do that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to hold down the Control key while I select the cylinder. Notice all these little handles appear around the cylinder. There's the arrow handles around each quadrant of the cylinder. I could actually click on one of those and drag it out to make the cylinder bigger, or drag it in to make it a little smaller. I'm going to turn my snap off a second so I can have a little more control of how big that is. So I can make the cylinder bigger. I could actually click on the handle in the center of the cylinder and then drag the cylinder to a different location on the box. And when I hit escape, I should see the results of my editing there. You can do the same thing to one of the boxes. You can hold down Control while you select a box. Again, it gives you the editing handles. I can click on one of them to drag it out to make it bigger or move it somewhere else, like so. And then when I hit escape, I see the results of the editing there. So that's one nice feature that was added. I believe that was added in actually AutoCAD 2008, maybe 2007, but it's still here in AutoCAD 2011. So feel free to utilize that as you need to.